This morning, we are talking with Alecia Gabriel, co-founder of the Lab Drawer, and we'll get into what the Lab Drawer is in a few minutes. So thank you so much, Alecia. Really appreciate that, your participation with us, the interaction of my students with practicing entrepreneurs, like yourself, is basically what the course is all about. So it wouldn't work without you. So we really appreciate it. So just start out, where are you today?
So I'm in Detroit. I'm from Detroit, live in Detroit. And I actually live literally across the street from Wayne State. So, so I'm definitely in the middle of the city. And, of course, we also have our manufacturing space. We actually have a manufacturing space in Highland Park as well. So at the Boys and Girls Club there. And so we do spend a lot of time at the Boys and Girls Club in Highland Park as well.
Okay, that's great. So I'd like to start out by just getting a little personal history. And I know that you have a co-founder, Deandra Roberson, and so maybe you can represent her as well and just indicate, how do you get to this point? How did you get to this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually met Deirdre. Deirdre and I both are Cass Tech graduates, and I met her while we were in high school together, and I was actually basically a tutor of sorts because I was one of the math aides for this math teacher. And so I would always, see her and other folks as well. And she asked me about, places where I might want to go to school and in college and things of that sort. So that's kind of how we started, having, at least a basic interaction. So I've known her for quite some time now. So I ended up going to Xavier University of Louisiana, and then Deirdre actually ended up there as well. And so we've always just kind of kept in contact with each other. And after I finished my PhD, I moved back to Detroit. So, and I can talk a little bit about my background a little bit later, but I ended up moving back to Detroit. And of course, ended up linking up with Deirdre, and she actually said, or kind of made a statement, things that we were seeing in the city. So we were both being asked to, do chemistry demonstrations. We're also both chemists. We both studied chemistry. And, we'd be asked to, talk on different panels and, just kind of interact with young people in the community. And one of the things that we immediately noticed, just from different experiences, is that young people here in Detroit were just not getting the STEM education, the STEAM education, that we would think that, of course, at this point, right, in 2012, 2013, young people should have this access. And it was very clear to us that we need to do something about it. So that's how we came up with, or at least came together, I should say, to figure out how do we tackle this problem. And, we thought it was going to be very easy to tackle in the sense of, we started off with what we now call our nonprofit arm, which is Motor City STEAM Foundation. And we started there. But one of the things we quickly realized is that it takes capital to do the work that we need to do, particularly if we're trying to get young people access to any kind of STEM education, right? It's got to be hands-on. It's got to be interactive, right? Things have to be, tangible for young people to really hang on and grasp what's going on. And so since that is the case, we actually ended up deciding, how do we get the hands, or how do we get young people's hands on this kind of material? And that's how the Lab Drawer was born. And the Lab Drawer is an ed tech monthly subscription box kit, specifically for ages 10 to 14. However, we have now spread the gamut of ages at this point due to COVID, and I could talk about that a little bit later as well. But at this point, basically what we do is we put everything together in this subscription box. For young people, we ship it all over now the world, which is also great. We're now a global company, and of course, we're continuing to do work with organizations in the community that we actually originally wanted to partner with, right? So now we have the ability to touch the hands, or get our product and get these STEM experiments into the hands of young people. And then we're also able to do kind of the grassroots work with community organizations here in Detroit, and just make sure things are hyper local in terms of making sure we get young Detroit Black and brown youth into STEM and STEAM careers.
Now, you started out by saying you and Deirdre noticed that there was just a lack of effective STEAM education in the community where you are. Did you talk about why you think that is, or what's the cause of that?
Well, I think it's a few things. One of the things, so we're both products of Detroit Public Schools, right? And of course, since we went to Cass Technical High School, we had to choose a major. So that major being, in my case, I'll just speak on my behalf, but that's Chem Bio, so the chemical biological curriculum. And so, we already kind of had that experience. We had the experience. We had, just things in front of us. We were exposed, right? And so one of the things that, I don't know if you guys have, if everyone has noticed this, but, Detroit Public Schools has gone through quite a bit of upheaval. Of course, now there's a huge disparity between the charter schools and the public schools. I also come from a background where my parents are actually teachers in both the charter schools and also Detroit Public Schools. So I kind of had, and we both kind of would see the issues that, were obviously really, really clear in terms of making sure that young people get the tools that they needed. And really, as it came down to it, they weren't, right? A lot of it came down to money. There aren't enough teachers in these schools to actually effectively communicate scientific concepts. Teachers, unfortunately, don't necessarily have the tools that they need to be successful in teaching the science curriculum and science and math curriculum that they have or that they're given. A lot of times it'll be subs, right? A substitute teacher who's trying to, take care of a class of 30 students. That's just impossible. So, over the last, crazily enough, 20 years or so, we've seen these ups and downs, and we've seen where there's a huge disparity in the public school system with making sure young people get access to STEM education. And it's not engaging, the things that we would see or hear. It's not fun. If I was a student, I don't think I would be engaged either. So it really takes expertise and creativity to create these lessons. And the teachers who are there, no knock on them, but it's maybe it is a knock in some ways, but there's a lack of expertise out there in the community, is what you're saying, what you seem to be saying. One of the things that I've noticed over years too is that teachers are asked to be subject matter experts, sociologists, and student advocates. I see Deirdre is here. I'm going to let her in the room. And so that doesn't leave a lot of space for creating really effective STEM and STEAM kinds of lessons. So I understand that you're filling that gap, and you're providing that to a wide range of people. Talk to me a little bit about the effect on, why is this important? Why is this an important problem, for the community to solve? Well, I think it's one of the biggest things is that we know, because everything around us is basically technology, right? Everything, right? Whether it's of course, electric vehicles or autonomous vehicles, or, everything, there's an app for everything, right? Apps are kind of changing the world. But even from a, more physical science standpoint, if we look at the impact of COVID-19, right? And the fact that we need people in these STEM careers to really solve these problems, come up with answers to really help humanity. So there's definitely a necessity for young people to have or go into these careers. And it's also very important. One of the things that, of course, that for us, it's very important that Black and Brown young people get into these careers. And the reason why is because we need to make sure that we have a seat at that table. A lot of times, both Deirdre and I, coming from, kind of industrial backgrounds in the sciences, we would be not only the only Black person at the table, but also the only woman at the table, right? So these are things we got to change that narrative, right? This shouldn't be the commonality here. We need these perspectives, and we need to have that seat at the table. And one of the examples that Deirdre and I talk about quite a bit is, the fact that the automatic hand soap dispensers, they actually weren't even designed for Black and Brown people in mind. So, a lot of times they weren't. So,
I wonder why that thing didn't work half the time.
Exactly. So you kind of have to try, that it wasn't designed for Black and Brown people. And so those are these are the reasons why we need Black and Brown people to have a seat at the table. We need to be in these careers, and we need to make sure that our youth are prepared to go into these careers, not just in technology, but even in sciences and engineering as well.
And even as we think about STEM and STEAM, it's a lot of talk about all these things that it's going to revolutionize, right? But a lot of times what we're missing is that equity piece in it as well, right? It's going to revolutionize, do all these amazing things, but we're still leaving Black and Brown people out, not just the workforce, but the new innovations. So that's why we need the seat at the table, but we need multiple seats at that table, right? We need multiple voices. We need people coming from multiple perspectives. And that's why it's important. A lot of times we're trying to get our foot in the door. We're trying to get at the room and at this table, and we need to get beyond that now. And the more students we equip, the better we are to do that.
So, good morning, Deirdre.
Good morning.
Speaking of Deirdre, she has joined us. This is Deandra Roberson, and she's a co-founder of the Lab Drawer. And we've been talking for a few minutes here. We're recording this session for the students to have a baseline of information about the company as they go about their work. And, as far as having a seat at the table is concerned, there is a young man, a professor at the University of Michigan. He's in the robotics department, work on artificial intelligence. And I saw a lecture he did this last February called "That Ain't Right." I think that was the name of the lecture. But he was talking about how Black people are not represented in terms of artificial intelligence work and how important it is. And there were these articles a few years ago about these artificial intelligence algorithms misjudging Black people as, calling them different kinds of things. And so, I definitely get, now that you mention it, I get the importance of, as you say, having a seat at the table. Mm-hmm. So, I also understand that your product is meant to be used by young people. But we look in terms of the customers. Who is actually buying the product? Who are the customers for you?
Well, so even though it's geared towards young people, our customers, when we think about B2C, direct to customer, it's usually a parent, right? Or a guardian or aunt or uncle, somebody who wants to make sure the student still has access to the STEAM education, someone who goes above and beyond, or, they buy it for a holiday gift or a subscription that they want to gift a kid to. So that's usually our target customer. So we're always trying to make sure we address something that they believe is going to help the student. And then something when the student gets it, they're engaged with it as well, right? And then for our B2B, it's organizations such as Ford Resource and Engagement Center, National Society of Black Engineers, Wayne State University, Louisiana State University, and they all have these K through 12 educational programs, right? So they already vetted us because of, our technical experience. They know the science we can bring. They're looking for us to bring it in to make it engaging for the students that they work with, because they've been working with these students, but now they're trying to find new and innovative ways to connect with them, right? Okay. And that's where our product comes into play.
Yeah. Now, how do you, let's step back to the B2C case, how do you reach those customers? How do they find out about the lab drawer?
That's something we're actually working on. It's been really organic, right? So parents and stuff, either we've worked with them, like one, let's say our big B2B partnerships are big because it introduces a lot of parents and students to our product. And then once they find the product that way, they're like, oh, how can I order? A lot of times this have been things that they heard about us from us getting awards with General Motors or pitch contests, or seeing their aunt, their uncle, or their parents seeing us and sharing our story. So it's been really organic. But in the future, we want to be very targeted and specific on how we address that B2C customer. So that's something we're really looking to grow in our business and that arm of our business as well. It's easier for us to bring on B2B, but B2C, we're finding that we definitely need to be a little more strategic in how we go after that segment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were to characterize those adults who are buying the product, how would you characterize them? If you were to target down even more,
a lot of the times they're college educated parents. They probably make upwards of 50,000 or more, not necessarily single parent homes, or they can be either single parent homes or both family homes, but the kids are usually playing some type of instrument, extracurricular activities, and they're trying to keep their kids engaged. They're also a working parent, right? And the things they want to engage their students with, they want it to take more than an hour, right? We're looking at sometimes a 2-hour engagement to allow them to do other things as well. And they're also interested in their students' education. So for instance, even when we surveyed about 100 different parents, they wanted us to know that they wanted pointed questions to ask their students after they were done. So even if they didn't do the experiment, they wanted a few questions to come to their email that they can ask them direct questions to. So that's what we would think our B2C customer is. And so how we make sure when we're targeting that customer, we still address our population is that, the proceeds go from those boxes, from those B2B and B2C customers. And then a lot of our community work is then going to pretty much free to low costs in the urban core of Detroit, pretty much Detroit specific. And then we actually bring some of the same learnings to them. But a lot of times for our B2C, that target customer is usually not a Black or brown parent, even though we find that it is once they see us. Sometimes it's always not a Black or brown parent, but when they do find us, like through our LinkedIn and social medias, it's automatically they're on board. Like it's an easier sell to a Black and brown parent who fits those who fits those characteristics.
Right. Yeah.
So thinking about the B2B format, it's impressive that you guys have these business to business connections now. How do you gain those customers?
It's been pretty organic as well, to be honest with you. So how this happened is that last summer, we were reached out we got reached out to by Wayne State K-12 STEM programs because they were looking for mechanisms to deliver STEM content, particularly their STEM camps, virtually, because everything had to be virtual, right? And so there weren't any organizations, at least in the Detroit area, that they were aware of. But if you Google us, you can actually see, a little bit of what we do. And so that's actually how that was kind of our stepping stone there. And so because we were able to, design the curriculum that they were looking for, because we're scientists, right? We have that experience. Also, we have the tech and logistics. Deirdre handles all of that. That was actually taken care of. So we were able to ship materials very easily to our customers as well. So it was also very organic. Basically, last summer, organizations came to us looking for help. And they said, I just don't know. I'm overwhelmed. I do not know how to deliver STEM content. It's particularly, if we're doing laboratory content, how do we make it fun and engaging for young people? So we were able to deliver that starting last year.
And even when Alecia says organic in the sense too, that it was built off of our STEM relationships, right? They seen the work that we were doing through Motor City STEAM and different things we had with GM. So even the K through 12 for Wayne State came through Dr. Tanya Matthews. So that's important because it's coming through other STEM professionals that they're trusting us with this skill. So it wasn't, and then the other one came through, we actually did a pitch competition and won at the world headquarters. So they brought us on to deliver their STEM education when they weren't using anybody before. So these people kind of like know our resume. It makes it easier for them to trust our skill set and bring us on. So I think that's really important too, as we talk about these organic relationships. Like these people are heavy in the science and tech world, in the STEAM world, and then they're trusting us to come on and deliver education. The other one was from Wayne State. She's actually, she's a doctor and she does a lot of research for the School of Medicine, but she went to Xavier and probably 10 years plus older than us. So when she found us, even though we were working when I say, she specifically was like, I want you guys to design the curriculum for my program. So like seeing our resume, our history, it allows it to be a very organic process with them finding us and reaching out to us because the work that we've been doing, it wasn't like we were laying dormant. Like people have been hearing about the work we've been doing and they trusted what we've been doing and they gave us a chance. And once we succeeded on that, some of these contracts are now repeating themselves.
So how do you leverage this track record and this work and these relationships to grow the business to other institutions, maybe similarly situated institutions and other places? How do you accomplish that?
I think one of the things is even when Alecia had brought on LSU, because that's her alma mater, another reason like we've been getting these organic is like just letting them know like a lot of the things that when we first get on an initial phone call with them, we're usually letting them know, we're asking them what they need and how we can provide it and how we design curriculum in-house, right? One of our things or our specialties is we can design a curriculum pretty much around anything you need in the STEM field, right? Just because we have that expertise across. So we're usually letting them know that. And then, so when we brought on Nesby last year, we actually took one of our competitors over for them because they wanted to work with 2 Black scientists, right? So they were working with KiwiCo, which is huge compared to our company, right? But because we were Black scientists, because we were woman-owned, they wanted to work with us and give us a chance and just making sure we have the capacity. So we also let them know like we had the capacity. Like last summer, we didn't do as much as we did this summer, but we proved to ourselves that we know we can ship at least 2,000 boxes a month. So we just kind of like let them our track record when they hear our backgrounds, where they hear the institutions we work with, it kind of puts them a little at a level of comfortability with us, knowing that we work with bigger institutions. So thanks to, Dr. Tanya Matthews for taking that chance on us. Now, Nesby is taking a chance on us and we're just letting, the people we work with, not only can we design a curriculum, we can get it to your students, whether COVID's happening or not. We shipped last summer in the midst of COVID, almost next day anywhere in Michigan once we figured out our logistics, right? So that's another thing, and how we provide them with tracking, how if, students' boxes are lost and different things like that, we pretty much bring them inside on what we're doing in-house too. So just having the ability not only to teach the curriculum, design the curriculum and run the logistics, and our volume that we actually can take on right now. Once they see our resumes, those are the real questions that they have. They don't have no doubt that we can do the curriculum design to the students.
Now, speaking of that point, you alluded to getting things to people next day and so forth. Just to back up for a second, how do people, so you have this lab drawer, this subscription box, in the B2C case and the B2B case, how does the customer get this product? Just, nuts and bolts.
So ideally, we like to do it all the same way, but we actually work with the institutions. So Nesby, we shipped out thousands of boxes for them, and they could have either received the boxes themselves and went out to the kids, but because they are a global program, they wanted to directly to the students, and that's what we did. We did a lot of that with Wayne State as well, but then we also have some organizations that are locally, or no, not even just locally. We have some even in Virginia, and some here like with Wayne State, where they ordered a bunch of 200 plus boxes, and they just wanted them all sent to their center, right? So we would, even though it will still be like individually docked little boxes in there, we will put all 200 of them in like a couple of boxes and ship a bulk order to them via UPS. So they'll have those boxes within 2 days, and then they can distribute it to the students how they want, or they can use them there or in the classroom. I think we even shipped like 120 to a school at the beginning of the year. So it's always shipped to them, but it's usually in a bulk shipment, either all the boxes together or individually to the homes.
So I noticed you had a box there you brought down for a minute. I think it'd be helpful for the students to see what's in the box. You know, how does it work?
I have a couple over here. So this box, so first let's get the background of the box. So the name of the box is the lab drawer, right? So it's designed to look like a lab drawer. The students can write their name on it. It's like a dry eraser board, like the whole box, right? So even if they want to write notes in the inside or anything, right? So it's designed to look like a lab drawer with the wood around it and then the slate top. And then when you open it up, one of the things about science and just even the basis of a lot of science is the periodic table. Yeah. So you can see the periodic table on the back. So what does that do for students as small as middle school ages or even younger, seeing that periodic table? Because this is one of the things that students see in high school and they're like, oh, wow, what's that? Maybe this isn't for me. But we're even trying to change that, right? So you're looking at this every time you're doing an experiment, even if you're not always interacting with it or just interacting with a few elements, you're still getting familiar with it. So when you see this in high school, you pretty much have a basic understanding of what's going on. Yep. Now, this particular box is actually the stethoscope box. Right? So they have everything inside to literally build a stethoscope that they can actually use. And then listen for heartbeats, listen for, heartbeats of family members. So and it actually accompanies a video. And we're in the process of finishing apps and stuff like that. That's what we want to do, to install like AR, VR, and different things. So they get a video also on how to put it together. Yeah. And then they're allowed to use it. So what's even cool about this one, about the stethoscope, they put together some type of instrument that a doctor would use. And I think we got some really cool feedback when we were working with a group of students, about 50. Yeah. And the girl literally said, like, her brother's usually scared of the doctor, but she was using this on him. And so when he went to the doctor, he knew what it was and it didn't really bother him. And it's just continuously, these are the things that we're all thinking about, right? How does this child now, by understanding what this instrument was being on them, kind of let down their guard and was, able to, go to this doctor visit without being frightened. And that's just the same thing that we're saying across the board, how interacting with these things from periodic table, from science and math, like changes the way children are perceiving these things. Like they're okay with it. Like, I'm a part of this. I understand this. And, that was just something when the young lady shared with us, we just didn't even think about. And that's how, these STEAM boxes can affect children and how they work with their family and siblings. And it's like, it's a teaching lesson for everyone, as well in the household. So.
So again, it's an impressive product, and I understand that. Or let me just back up and ask you. So I'm assuming, I don't always like to assume, but I'm assuming that your revenue comes from selling the boxes. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, that is correct.
So how much is the box? How much does the box cost?
So the monthly subscription is $44.99. And then the one-time, you can buy it for a one-time cost at $49.99. Yeah. And then it's $5 flat to ship it anywhere.
And how much does it cost you to make each box?
Right now, we're averaging under $20 to make each box. That's our goal.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and some, it depends on the experiment as well. But as Deirdre said, under 20 is our goal. And usually we can get it lower than that because we have such large B2B orders and our B2C orders as well. So that definitely helps offset a lot of the costs.
How do you go about manufacturing the product?
So we actually have a manufacturing space. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, right? So we actually have a space at the Boys and Girls Club in Highland Park, Michigan. That's the Favre Martin Club. So we have about close to 2,000 square feet of space. So we're able to, of course, bring in all of our materials, inventory, things of that sort to that space. We also have staff, part-time staff that we do hire to put boxes together. And then also we do have additional assistance if necessary as well to put the boxes together. So for us, a lot of times we can focus on, now I feel like we can focus more on some of the strategic pieces like the curricula, developing curricula, implementing the tech and logistics, things of that sort. So we've been able to kind of improve on our overall system so that at least Deirdre and I can be more strategic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Then,
so I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say all our boxes too they're manufactured right here in Michigan. So we don't even have to get these shipped. They drop them off. It's literally probably not even 5 miles from where we have our
Mm,
We actually
great.
were sourcing out of California and we switched to Michigan Box Company here.
Yeah. So that brings me to the issue. You talk about curricula, you talk about manufacturing and so forth. There are certain things that you have to do. If you look at the map of your time as you execute this business, there are certain things, key activities you have to engage in that make this thing work. So how would you rank those things? What are in terms of the key time and resource consumers? How do you, what are the activities that you have to engage in order to make this business work?
I have a question. Are you asking from a time standpoint or just?
Yeah, mainly from a time, just the energy that you put into this business, how much goes toward curriculum, how much goes toward manufacturing, those different areas you mentioned.
So it's a lot of energy that goes into our curriculum and design and the video. So like off rip, that's probably a good 8 to 10 hours, probably more. Alecia, because she kind of handles that. Which also it's actually the most important piece because that's how the kids understand how to put the curriculum together. But then as far as all the hours, the majority, like 99% of the rest of the hours are in manufacturing, right? Mm-hmm. Sourcing only takes us a few hours, but it's the manufacturing. And I'm actually finishing up our work study of all the hours it just took us to send out 3,000 boxes, which I should have soon, based on all the time we spent on it. But it's definitely in the manufacturing states putting together all the boxes and how those processes are lined up.
Yeah.
And so I'm finishing up those numbers. So I think we should have a rough number of total hours with all people involved on how much it took us. So we can actually, when we do go to the next phase of hiring a full-time employee, we can know what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Is customer service a key issue in terms of, do people have questions about the experiments or this kind of thing that you have to respond to?
It's actually been very few. Because of the video, I think helps a lot. Because I think one thing with the instructions is that, and even in science, I think I could speak for myself as well. When I was in the lab, I'm like, wait, are you telling me to do X, Y, and Z? But when they see it in the video and the students can like rewind or, pause or stop it, read the caption, we haven't had too many issues. A lot of the times our issue is, hey, I got this subscription. I just wanted to make sure who paid for it, stuff like that. So it's been very simple questions. We haven't had too many. I think sometimes a video or something we had to troubleshoot. But right. I mean, 6, 7, 8,000 boxes in, it really has been a very small percentage of issues. And that's making sure we roll out our tech pieces correctly, right? Mm-hmm. But we do want to make sure we still have that arm beefed up because in the future, as we get more technical, it may be other questions that arise. So we don't want to just be like, oh, customer service isn't a big deal. It hasn't been a big deal yet, but we do foresee it becoming not an issue, but something we need to grow out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you alluded to partners who have helped the business grow or, that you've worked with, Ford, you've mentioned General Motors, I think you mentioned Wayne State. Talk to me about these partnerships. What partnerships exist now and what do you see going forward?
So I'll start off with one of our biggest partners this year, which is the National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE. So that's definitely one of our biggest partners. We mentioned Ford, but specifically Michigan Women Forward. So that's a pretty big organization that helps women. And they do women entrepreneurs, and putting kind of the shining the light on women entrepreneurs in Michigan. So we actually were in that pitch competition. Like, I think was that their inaugural pitch competition, I believe? Yeah. It may have been. And so we've been working with them ever since. And so, we work a lot with them. Also,
just how we work with them, they do a summer STEM camp for youth for 2 weeks. And we actually come in and teach the whole science portion.
Yes, absolutely. And then also, of course, we talked about Wayne State, and there's a particular, we were talking about our relationship with the professor who runs that. Of course, she went to Xavier, but we've actually now worked with her grants that she had with Grosse Pointe schools. So we actually work with students there. And then also her high school students in her summer STEM program, which is particularly for young people. They actually have to apply for it. It's almost 75, 80 students. So we're doing virtual labs with them. And then there's also, like we mentioned, Louisiana State University. That's actually a younger age group, but we've been able to work with them. We ship the boxes to Louisiana and neighboring areas for them. And then also we worked with Alexandria Public Schools in Virginia. So we were able to ship out quite a few boxes there. That's also kind of a personal connection of mine, but we were able to, work with them as well. Deirdre, am I leaving out any other big partners?
No, but only thing I would add is that our B2B partnerships keep us working with 85% to 90% Black and Brown students.
Yes.
And that's been a very important part that we didn't foresee that's how it would happen, right? So in our B2B right now is our biggest part of our business. And so a lot of times when we're saying how we set the price of our boxes, we were worried because we had to set it to be cost effective and to actually have a business. We were like, how do we make sure we're reaching the students that need it? And our B2B partnerships is ensuring that success. So that's been a really important arm for us, not only in how much money it brings in, but the type of students that we're able to reach through them.
Yeah. I think that's that's a business model feature as an aside that we often see with the urban focused businesses that, there's a partner there that makes it more feasible to address the audience that you want to address. And that seems to be happening in your case as well. So let's see. Now, you all have had some impressive success so far. And, that's always due to the resources that you have, the special expertise, the special skills you have in the business. What would you say if you were to just take a step back and look at the business? What makes you special? What are those key resources that you have in the business that make it work?
Well,
before Alecia starts, I want to say this. The most important thing that I've noticed in our business is how well we work together, right? Like, number one, that has been the thing to get this going. Like, we had an additional partner and things were just bumping heads. And when we aligned and she decided to leave, like, things really took off for us. And like, we've known each other for a long time, but it wasn't necessarily like, came from a point where Alecia was 1 year older than me and was helping me out with things like along my path during school, like tutoring me in algebra honors when we were in high school and different things like that. And, I took her lab position over from her when I went to college. When we came back to work together, I think we were always, our mission and what we wanted to do and our expertise, we were very, aligned. And I think that's really important, like first and foremost. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. I actually was not going to say that first, but I think that's really, really important. Making sure that, and I think you probably have seen this or heard this, in terms of, other startups, right? So people are looking for the right co-founders or the right CTO or what have you, right? There should be a really, really critical vetting process, right? You can't just choose everyone. You have to make sure that you're aligned. So that is definitely very important. I also think too, another big piece of this is obviously our education. That's obvious. But even just the fact that we're really, really passionate about making sure that these young people get what they need. Like I am, that for me, and I think this is super critical, right? If you're only passionate about making the dollar, that is not going to bring you success in this type of work that we're doing, right? It's very social, it's very much a social enterprise that, you have to be passionate about, and you can't just, walk over that or, slough over that, right? We are very, very passionate about making sure this product gets into young people's hands. And if it's all about the dollar, then you probably, it's good. Yeah, you get to make money, but I think that brings forth, I think that will take, at least from what I can see, that's taken us to a higher level at this point, just because we're so passionate about it.
And I
So
think even inside of both of us having technical backgrounds, we still have expertise in other areas, right? Like I let Alecia handle curriculum, not saying that I couldn't jump in. It's just that she does it better, right? I could always come in and help her. I always let her know she likes to do the teaching because that's a passionate thing for her, but I always let her know, like, I'll do the teaching, whatever. It's not a problem, right? Mm-hmm. So just having that, but like I manage a lot of our logistics, our website, our tech, finding out new resources for that too. And I think that's really important too. And like, even we've been on phone calls and businesses and I'm like, Alecia, don't forget to tell them you do this. And it's just that relationship still goes back to our talking about each other's technical experience, each other's expertise, how our curriculum meets these standards. But it's like we each have our strengths within our business, right? Outside of being scientists, each have our strengths, like her expertise in curriculum and creativity. And like we both bring different unique aspects to the table. And I think it comes out in our product as well.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's clear you have expertise. You talk about passion, but I'm also sensing or observing that you have an understanding of the customers, particularly these children mm-hmm. that you are trying to reach with the product. And then, as you alluded to, these partnerships are really key resources, these relationships and these partnerships that you have. Mm-hmm. Anything else that you?
Well, I was going to make a comment about the young people, because we actually interviewed the young people, right? So one of our first iterations of the lab drawer, we actually worked with a group of students in a focus group. And then we've now taken this even beyond. So we've actually done a cohort. It was, I think, 10 students last year. So we worked with them for 6 months. They, we were able to provide them free lab drawers, and they gave us very honest feedback. So one of the things for us that's very important is that young people actually feel like they have the space to give us feedback on what they're interested in, right? And they're very honest. I mean, the first iteration, they said, this isn't colorful enough. This isn't
see that box.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw the box, you'd be like, this looks boring, right? And so it was good. I think, a lot of times people, and unfortunately, we've seen this where organizations or companies will develop a product, and you have to understand who the customer is. It's like, yes, the parent's paying for it, but if the child isn't having any fun with it, they're going to say, this isn't fun. I don't want anything to do with it. So you actually need both perspectives. And as Deirdre alluded to earlier, we even interviewed the parents who were purchasing the boxes, right? So you need both types of feedback, and that's really also kind of what's been helping us along as well.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to add another thing that helped us with the students, because, we are these students as well. But when we developed these boxes, we were developing for ourselves. But I think we were also developing for ourselves with these master's degrees and these PhDs, right? So by interviewing the students, it allowed us to go back and not just develop them for who we are now, but also who we were then, and like getting their input. Like that's the Lab Drawer 2.0. Like these are who our direct customer and we're developing for now. So it allowed us to like really step back and like, hey, if we were developing this for us then, these are some things that were very key and important to us that we may have lost along the way as we gotten so technical and, so much schooling, so it was just really cool to like hear them like, oh, we like, yeah, they right. I would have liked that too. Why we didn't do that? So it kind of put us back in touch with where we should have been when we were thought about how to develop this product.
Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left, and I want to turn to just asking you about what are the biggest challenges you face right now?
Marketing.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been figuring everything out except for marketing, but also I think even getting more B2C customers too. Those are two I will point off. I just had to quickly say that.
Those are definitely the two biggest challenges right now, because the B2B has been pretty great for us, which is awesome, right? But we also want to make sure this gets into the hands of as many young people as possible. And so, definitely the marketing, strategizing around how to get more B2C customers. I think that's also critical. I think later on down the line too, we'll probably
our tech.
That's what I was gonna say. that was not that.
Yeah.
Yes, tech. Because it's really, we don't want to. We've heard multiple things, right? We've gotten insight from lots of from some of our mentors and things of that sort about, do you really need tech? And I what we're seeing is that we do, just to make it even more engaging than what it is. And we want to make sure that we spend some time there. And when we talk about tech, it's not necessarily we're open to it, but I know one of the things that we envision and that we've been seeing and getting feedback from young people and parents is this concept of gamification, right? And making sure that it's, young people are really engaging and building a community, right? So if you look at games like Roblox and Fortnite, you're talking to each other, there are different forums and things of that sort, and building this digital global community. I think it particularly if we use the vehicle of gamification, that's going to be a big piece of our tech.
Even one of the things that was interesting when we did test the box with the kids originally, we seen that we had paper instructions and they were all on their phones, while they were doing it. And we were like, oh, let's just make you have to engage with the box through your phone then. So we just see that that's important. And some of the types of tech will actually be beneficial on how you see science as well, right? Because a lot of science is done in the 3D world, right? And to be able to see like hearts or molecules spin around and, blown up, it's really things that we think is very important, that we've even seen colleges have started putting in their curriculum and how they're communicating with students. So to even bring that down to a middle school level as we develop out this tech, I think it's very important. So our marketing, our sales to B2C, and then developing out this tech, like it's almost crucial that we start developing out this tech, because that's a lot of things our competitors are not using either, right? And that's how another way we set ourselves apart is how the students engage with this box and the contents in it and makes it interactive.
But what excites you most about the opportunity looking forward?
So I mean, so many students we can reach and touch, and like just to see science and see how STEAM is just all around them, right? I think a lot of the problem is why we don't show up is they don't think it's something for Black and brown students, or it's something like they're not getting. It's like, even when you think you're not getting science, you're still getting science, but they're just not telling you that's what it is. It's all involved into it. So I think I'm really excited about how we bring this product to students. And also, I think something's really exciting to have 2 Black women, at this company, and what we can do and how we can change the landscape to education, and actually how we can build this company and raise funds. I think we hear so much about all these tech companies raising funds. I think it's important that a company like this is at the forefront too. So that's exciting to be a part of this. Like, I know we had dreams of this, but it seems like we're right here right now. Like we're right here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Right. So just being part of this team and we're not the regular faces, we're not the KiwiCo faces. We're not the Mel Science faces. Right. We don't have those backgrounds, right? We come from very urban backgrounds. So I think for us, this is, making that claim and saying that we are who we are and we have done X, Y, and Z, I think is also very, very cool. For me, it's awesome.
Well, once again, I really appreciate you all taking the time. I know as new entrepreneurs, you got to be incredibly busy. So I appreciate you taking the time for this interview and taking the time to work with the class. So
For sure.
we look forward to having you.
We're excited to work with the students.
Yeah.